Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we'll be talking all about whipping cream. If you are a beginner, this will be a good kickstarter for your baking journey. And if you're already into baking for a while, then this video will be helpful for you in taking your frosting techniques to a next level, because I'll be sharing some tips and techniques to getting that perfectly finished cake. So first and foremost, we'll start talking about when exactly we should be whipping the cream. As whipping cream is kind of a tricky frosting that basically contains milk solids, soya proteins, and emulsifiers, and formed by whipping it, it stays stable only for a particular amount of time, depending on your environment and climate. So we need to whip the cream only after baking the cake and cooling it down completely, so that when we frost the cake with the cream, it doesn't become watery and loses its stability. Next comes the consistency of the cream for whipping. It should be neither too liquidy nor too solid, but a combo of liquidy and solid. If you have the cream in the freezer, take it out and allow it to melt it for an hour before whipping it. Make sure not to melt it for too long. While whipping the cream, we should whip it at full speed consistently, and also we should make sure that we don't have the fan on while whipping it or frosting it. This is because keeping the fan on leads to drying of the cream and thereby giving a non-smooth finish. Next comes the question, how long should we whip the cream? Given the quality of the cream, proper cream consistency and good climatic condition, it would take approximately 2 to 3 minutes to attain the stiff peaks. And now comes the question, how do you come to a conclusion if you have attained the proper stiff peaks? Usually many of us, including me, stop whipping once we find the cream slightly stable, thinking it's done. But this is just the soft peaks. This consistency will be okay for final frosting layer or designing, but for layer frosting and crumb coating, the cream should be stiff enough to hold the layers in position without the cake getting loose and break due to the moisture from sugar syrup and the fruit crushers. So the cream should reach a stage where you can see it crumbling and coming together like this. While there are many ways of checking if the cream is done or not, my favorite way of checking is to leave the blender plates in the cream, and if the blender plates do not fall on either side, then the cream is done. The other way of testing it is in the traditional way by flipping the bowl, and if it doesn't fall or leaves the sides, then it is done. Once you are done with whipping the cream, close the remaining whipping cream box with a staple and refrigerate it for future use. Before we start with frosting the cake layers, we have to divide the cream into two batches, one for the cake layer frosting and the other one for the final frosting and for the decorations. Once we start with frosting the cake layers, it takes at least 5 to 10 minutes to complete the whole process. Meanwhile, if the whipped cream that we are going to use for final frosting and the decoration is kept in room temperature, there are chances that it might lose its stability, which would make the final frosting very difficult, and it also could end up with a non-smooth finished cake. Use a generous amount of cream to frost the layers and crumb coat it thoroughly. Once you are done with the crumb coating procedure, make sure to refrigerate it. The crumb coated cake needs to be refrigerated at least for 2 to 3 hours, so that when we do the final frosting, we get a neat finish without any crumbs popping through the final coating. Once the crumb coated cake is adequately cooled, take it out and do the final frosting. If you are a beginner, there are chances that you might be struggling with getting that neat finish, but make sure that it should not take more than 5 minutes to do the full frosting. Fill the cream required to make the decorations in the piping bag and complete your decorations. Once the decorations are done, cool the cake for 1 more hour and then deliver the cake. Now we'll see some common problems with whipping cream and how we can fix it. The first one is very dry cream. As you can see, the cream is not so smooth and it creates ripples and bubbles when doing the frosting. This happens when the cream is overbeaten or when the cream is exposed to air for a long time. You can just fix it by mixing the cream with a spatula very fastly like this. Or you can add some unwhipped cream to the dry cream and mix it and then frost the cake as usual. The next issue is the cream becoming very liquidy like this. This happens when the cream is kept under room temperature for a very long time or when the cream is not of very good quality. You can fix it by just whipping the cream as usual for a while and then add white chocolate ganache to it and beat it until you gain the stiff peak consistency. This is a really great method of stabilizing cream. It not only adds stability to the cream but also gives a very pleasant taste. As you can see, the cream is stabilized now. You can use this for frosting the cake or even as decorations. The next issue we are going to see about is the bittery taste or the color holding onto hands while eating the cake. This happens when you add more dark color to the whipping cream. Instead, if you want dark colors, you can just add 1 to 2 drops to the final frosting or the decoration part and keep it in fridge for 1 hour. Take it out, then add 2 more drops of colors to it. Then mix it and keep it in fridge again. Repeat the process until you get the desired color. I did this for 3 times and I got my desired dark colored red. The next issue is cracks on the final coating. This happens due to overcooling the cake or the wrong cake board. If you're going to make heavy cakes like 2-tier, 3-tier or tall cakes, it's best to use drum boards like these to prevent the cracks on the cake. One way to fix the cracks is to just spray a little water over the crack and smooth it with a spatula. Make sure not to mess with the other part of the cake because once you frost and cool the cake, the cream sets deep enough to make any corrections afterwards. That's all for today, friends. Hope this video was informative and useful for you all. Do comment in the comment box if you have any other queries and I will try to clear it as much as I can. Thank you all for watching. Bye bye.